And the winner for least watched online comedy news show is Chad White.
Thank you so much. I don't even have a speech prepared. Oh wait, I do. I'd like to thank nobody and no one but myself. I did this. To quote the greatest rapper of all time, Drake, came up, that's all me. Stay true, that's all me. No help, that's all me. All me for real. That's not true at all. My lovely bride-to-be, Natalie Emanuel, was right beside me most of the way. Then there's my best friends, Michael B. Jordan, Zac Efron, and Miles Teller. All of our sleepovers with late-night talks and pillow fights won't go unnoticed. What? Okay, 20 seconds. All right. News Time covers South by Southwest history, as well as this year's lineup of programming, and we'll also cover the Razzies, because F them, right? I'm not done yet. Don't you make that music louder.
It's News Time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White.
I didn't get to finish my speech up top, but let's just say the rest of it was not good. Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the comedy news that you didn't know about. This week, I have two stories about two distinct film industry entities that have managed to shape perceptions of films by way of overhyped audiences and revisionist history. For this one episode only, I'm giving you the chance to choose which one I start with. Just text SXSW or Raz to 696969. Ron will tally up the votes, and we'll do the fan favorite first. Here we go. Okay, let's see which one you guys picked. South by Southwest. Good, because that was the one I'm going to start with regardless. That's democracy for ya, baby. In just 4 days, South by Southwest returns to the spotlight, bringing its own set of potential victories and flops to a mass of film geeks looking for the next cult hit. This year, the festival turns 25. Now, to put that into perspective, I too am turning 25 this year, and this is all I have to show for it. South by Southwest Festival heads have sifted through thousands upon thousands of submissions in order to pick the 100 or so new projects that they hope will do well with festival goers. Movies from the likes of John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are lucky enough to lead the charge. TV shows like HBO's Barry and TBS's The Last OG make up part of the episodic portion. Narratives, documentaries, music, and more will all converge in Austin, Texas for 10 full days of non-stop movie carnage. Isn't it beautiful? And if those numbers sound iffy to you, I'll dive deeper. 132 features are set to be shown this year, with 44 of them coming from people like you and me, first-timers. There are over 2,450 feature-length film submissions, and even more, 8,160 alone were submitted. And we still don't know the entire lineup. And the festival/conference starts this Friday. Talk about a Trojan ultra-thin. Risky, but it feels good. Nope, that was too sexual. This is not that kind of show. So how did South by Southwest come about? The Austin-based confab actually began life in New York. Following the New Music Seminar in July of 1986, the people that put on that festival got in touch with Roland Swinson, who was staffed at the Austin Chronicle. They wanted to put on a festival, or for those on the West Coast, just the exact same thing but the opposite direction. That didn't pan out, but Swinson was not deterred. He liked the idea enough to employ his own employer, Chronicle co-founder Lewis Black, and publisher Nick Barbaro to help. Just a few months shy of a year later, in March 1987, the first South by Southwest, a play on Alfred Hitchcock's North by Northwest, this is really pretentious guys, was born. It soon proved to be a huge, massive hit. 700 people showed up to the first one. In 1993, the fest grew so big that it moved to its current home at the Austin Convention Center. Johnny Cash did a keynote. John Mayer played there for the first time in 2000 and got a record deal out of it. And, best of all, the confab expanded its horizons. Early on, it became more than a music festival. Different limbs like South by Southwest Film and Multimedia, later renamed Interactive, became bigger than their predecessor. Stand-up comedy became its own segment And then South by as a whole is single-handedly the highest grossing event in all of Texas besides sports or whatever. Last year, the 2017 version of the festival jumped only 7% from the previous year's revenue. But also keep in mind it pulled in $349 million, which means that in 2016 they pulled in $325 million. By comparison, Super Bowl 52 is estimated to have brought in $407 million into the Minneapolis metro area, with total spending reaching $338.4 million. And that was all for one 4-hour game. South by Southwest is a major revenue gainer for Austin, so it's great to see it grow year over year. Even at this point, it's marginal. But what the confab does for movies by elevating them, others are out there diminishing the art form. For critics, there's a point where the line between doing their jobs and simply being rude is blurred. And this is where I must talk about the Razzies. The Academy Awards were last night, and the night prior, the Razzies Awards took place. And if you don't know, the Razzies are the anti-Oscars, awarding statuettes to the worst movies of the year and their crews as well. I don't know, I don't want to spend too much time on these ne'er-do-wells, but I have got to do something in relation to the Oscars. This is News Time after all, the timeliest of online comedy-based news shows. Please vote for us in the Shorty Awards. We're not really in there. It was founded by John J.B. Wilson, a man with an extensive background in understanding how film works. He attended UCLA after all, and he's a renowned publicist. He was throwing a potluck with a few friends for the 53rd Academy Awards in 1981. After the show, the group decided to give out their own awards for bad movies. They're so cool, guys. Laurence Olivier, Brooke Shields, and Neil Diamond were awarded with the then unsanctioned award show that occurred just between friends. But like SXSW, the show grew in popularity and the numbers of attendees doubled every year. And I have to give it to Wilson and his cohorts. The seriousness behind the show grows every year. As with the Academy of Arts and Sciences, those who vote for the Razzies must be a paying member of the Golden Raspberry Award Foundation. Further, categories hold 5 nominees for both shows. At least they're doing their due diligence. Yet, there are some stark differences. Here's my favorite part: shitting on the competition. The Razzies are the worst awards show ever, period. I don't think it's cute or funny or useful to highlight what some people deem as garbage. Just because you don't like a movie doesn't mean it's a 0 in the entertainment department. Case in point, I like Suicide Squad. You didn't? That's fine. If you like one of them Star Wars things that tell the exact same story over the course of too many movies to count that are too long to watch, I'm not going to take away your enjoyment of it, nerd. You do you. Unlike the Academy, the voters in the Raspberry Foundation aren't required to watch the movies they're voting on. That's like someone voting in an election without knowing what either candidate... I'm guessing a lot of you already did that. Not that kind of show. And by the way, the Raspberry Foundation isn't an invite only, whereas the Academy is. So any Joe Bumbledick can join and say they hated Jennifer Lawrence and Mother for the low sum of $40. Worse yet is they picked the easiest movies to hate, and this year was no exception. Transformers, Baywatch, Snatch, the new Pirates of the Caribbean movie, they're all box office successes with less than favorable ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. If you're waiting on me to take them down, I'm working on a story about aggregates. Trust me, just you wait. Film criticism is tough, but as media gets easier to access, streaming and MoviePass, for instance, are so cheap to acquire, so cheap. People are more inclined to take what they used to say about not having money to waste and attribute it to time. But things like MoviePass and the streamers are made for hardcore fanatics who have nothing but time on their hands. I've said this before, and here it is again. They're the ones going to see Geostorm in every movie nominated for a Razzie. The award show is less farcical and more cynical, not critical, when it comes to movies. That's why festivals like South by Southwest and Sundance and all the other big ones that I don't know, but they're also big names as well, they are so welcome. They open up the world to thousands of deserving films that never would have gotten the highlight they needed. We have to celebrate creativity and award it even if it's not entirely good. Remember, it's all subjective. And that's all the news I have for you for this week on News Time. Why don't you subscribe, and check out one of our other videos. Of course, you can always head to the website, cpluscomedy.com, where there's so many things that this sheet won't be moving. It will be. Follow us on Twitter at cpluscomedy. Follow me on Twitter at chatblackwhite. Like us on Facebook. Listen to the Constitutionalist podcast. Please, it's free. And, of course, you can always buy one of these black sheets and shoot your own News Time if you don't like the way I do it.